Hey there, welcome to the Storytime with Ellie podcast, and I am your host, Ellie. Today I am welcoming Sarah to our podcast. She is an intuitive reader, a spiritual channel dedicated to helping others connect with their inner wisdom and gain the clarity they seek. She guides clients on their journey to self-discovery, focusing on helping them reconnect with their authentic selves, whether someone's feeling lost, stuck, or just simply needs a bit of guidance. Sarah is here to empower them to take the driver's seat in their own lives. Let's welcome Sarah Tye. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. It's like, oh, and I heard so many great things about you that we were like, oh, I think I want to read them too, but let's just rock and roll. Um,
Yeah.
so let's just start. What brought you to this? What made you what made you to be psychic? What got you on this journey?
Yeah, it's so funny because it's not something I ever saw myself doing professionally. I've been doing it professionally now for 3 years, but I've been reading tarot since high school. So
Okay.
it has been a part of my life for a very long time. I grew up very Christian, and it was right around 15, 16 that I had too many questions that couldn't be answered. It was more like trying to silence my questions versus allowing the questions, which made me question it even more.
Hmm.
And so at the time, I just kind of immediately went to the occult because it was like the forbidden topic, right? So I just
Mm.
dived right into like tarot and paranormal and witches and all this stuff just for fun. And so that's how it started. It was more entertainment, it was more fun. I would hold out with my friends and it was all woo-woo, things like that. But about 8 years ago, I actually got to experience it from more of a medicinal place. And that's when my whole opinion and thoughts of tarot completely shifted. So, about 8 years ago, I was in this dilemma debating whether or not I should leave my husband or not. And we had a 1 year old daughter, and I was just in this position of like, should I stay or should I go? Because he was starting to get abusive.
Mm.
And I was a stay-at-home mom who had nothing. I didn't work. I didn't have anywhere to go. So I was really torn on what should I do. Plus, I didn't want to end my marriage. You never get into a marriage wanting to end it. So I was,
Correct.
you know, and one morning, it was after my husband had gone to work, and my two dogs started going ballistic at my back door, which was strange because we were on the second floor balcony of an apartment building. So I
Mm.
was like, what the heck are they barking at? And so I went to go see, and there was a raven sitting perfectly still on my balcony, just
Mm.
staring in at me, completely unbothered by, like, I had two dogs, and one of them was pretty big. She was a Springer Spaniel, about 50-pound dog, jumping
Mm.
and clawing at the door. This raven was completely unbothered by it and was just staring at me. And then it probably was only there for about a minute, but it felt longer and it felt like it was there on purpose.
Okay. Okay.
And that made me look up, what does it mean when you see a raven? Which I found out that the raven closely ties into the death card in tarot, which
Mm.
the death card in tarot is one of the scary cards. Many people hear that and they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Someone's going to die. But death in tarot actually represents new beginnings. It
Hmm.
represents endings and new beginnings. So it's not the doom and gloom that most people hear. And I had already known that enough from my own personal readings. I kind of already knew that death was a good card. It was a good omen, so to speak. And so I thought, okay, I was already debating, should I stay or should I go? I see this raven. It felt really kismet. So I pull out my deck. And it was the first time I ever really turned to my tarot deck for a real question, not
Right.
like the superficial, oh, let's just pull out my deck for fun. And it was, should I stay or should I go? And the outcome cards were so relevant and resonant that I just couldn't shake it, because there's 78 cards in a deck, and we can definitely go into the mechanics of it in
Yeah,
a
sure. I
bit.
love
But
it. Hmm.
that's a lot of cards with a lot of different meanings. So when the two outcome cards are so perfect, like, how do you debate it? So if I stayed, I got the devil card, which told
Mm.
me that things were not going to get
Mm-mm.
better,
Mm-mm.
that I wasn't stuck in a cycle now. If I left, I got the death card, which perfectly correlated with the raven that I had just seen maybe about 20 minutes earlier.
Hmm. Yeah, a sign.
And it
Mhm.
just felt like, okay, it was, and not only that, but I already knew I had to leave. I was already thinking about it. I was scared too, but I already knew it. So it was also confirmation for me that that feeling of, yes, you should go was the right decision. And so that started a relationship with my deck for the next several years, like about 4 to 5 years. I was just turning to it for big life decisions. And over, it was consistent and relevant and resonant. And then when 2020 happened, I was still agnostic. I didn't have any particular belief system. And that's what kind of prompted me when the world shut down. I thought, well, I should probably figure out what I believe. Started into the spiritual journey. And I started asking, what's my purpose? What's my
Mm.
purpose? And tarot kept coming to me. And it was the one thing I kept saying no to, because I was like, I can't be a tarot reader. Like, no,
Yeah,
what would
yeah,
people
totally.
think? There's so much stigma and taboo, and I can't let people know that that's what I'm doing professionally. But it just kept coming to the point where I had one of my incomes just completely went away one day, and it felt in the moment, even though it was scary, I felt in that moment like, okay, this is spirit trying to tell me, do it. Go into this tarot business
Mhm.
that I had been playing with but was afraid to do. I lost my income. Then I heard clear as day, go work on your business. And I knew what that meant. I was scared, but I did it. And that's really how I fell into it professionally. But once I started doing it professionally, it really felt like coming home. It felt like the first time I was actually doing what felt like me and was making this huge impact on people. That is what I've always wanted to do, is help guide people anyway. So it was just this beautiful feeling of, I found myself and I found a way to help people, and it felt really guided. I wasn't looking for it.
Right,
So that's
right.
my journey.
Yeah, that's amazing. How there's I don't there's stigmatism, right? When you tell
Oh
people
yeah.
what you do, because you just, you said that, and I get it, because I love, I mean, I'm also Christian, but I've ventured into a lot of these. I've spoken with a lot of psychics. I've put them on the shows. I've done a lot with them, and it's interesting. And I know they always say it's to entertainment purposes only, but a lot of the outcome is there. It's there. So yeah, there's that stigmatism, but on the same token, it's like, yeah, but I don't, we don't really care sometimes. We just want to have a reading. Now, so understanding, let's just think here. Um, wow. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Go something else. So, so do you do online readings as well?
Mhm.
Because you're in
Yeah.
California, correct? So what I'm getting at is, if somebody wants to get a reading from you, you have a website, like we can, discuss that more later. We can put that up on the
Yes. Yeah, most of
podcast.
my readings
Post.
are over Zoom.
Okay, cool. Cool. Um, my goodness, what else can we go here? Kind of
Well,
lost
I'd
my
love
train.
to speak to a little bit of that stigmatism that you were mentioning.
Yeah,
And
I kind of got
it's
stuck on that
so,
too.
no worries. Yeah, I would say that probably a good 50% of my clients are Christian. I think it's the dominant belief system, right? And
Mm,
so, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The way that I see religion and spirituality. So for me, I'm more spiritual. I tried to be Christian, and I've tried to be Wiccan. I've tried to be different religions. And for me, it just feels like I'm putting on a shoe that won't fit. My belief is just too big for a specific box for me personally. But I do think it's important to have some kind of faith. So if it's Christianity, that's great. So long as it's something for you to plug into and believe that there's some higher power that's helping guiding you. I think that that's what you need. And so whatever modality that is for you and that speaks to you, I think that's the important thing to plug into.
hmm.
And the problem with the stigmatism around tarot is that there is a lot of old beliefs that it's of the devil, that it's witchcraft or bad or all these things. And
And it
then of
probably
course
is all
how they
those
work.
things. It can be all those things, but it
I would
depends
say,
on who's doing the readings and what you believe in. You go to someone like
yeah.
who's not like that, I feel I consider them like a guide. I could be wrong,
Mhm.
but this is my belief. I sometimes consider them as a guide. Like, okay, you have these just thoughts and decisions, and sometimes they can be better than a therapist, because a therapist, you think, or maybe that's the way we think. It's like we have all the answers in us anyway. Even when you're reading us, I know they're us. It's our answers.
Mhm.
Most of us know
Right.
them. We just don't
Hmm.
bring them out, right? You help bringing them out. Where a
Yes.
therapist, sometimes I wish maybe I should make the comparison, but it takes longer. it takes
Yeah.
longer. And yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because I've actually had people, several people actually sit with me and say, wow, that was like a mini therapy session. But I love to
Yeah.
also point out, like, no, 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 this wasn't therapy. This is more shining a light on what to take to therapy. So, like,
Hmm.
when you say it takes longer, it's usually because you don't know what the root cause is. And so, through talk therapy is how you discover, oh, this is a trauma, this is a trauma. But sometimes it takes a while to get there. Versus
Hmm.
something like tarot can actually help point on this is the specific trauma or block that's holding you back from your highest self. And so I think it hyper focuses on what we really need to look at now versus like when you're feeling lost, you're just kind of like, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and you don't have that clarity. Whereas I feel like tarot just like shines light on this is what you need to focus on.
Right.
And I do believe, unfortunately, because of the stigma, there are every single field has con artists, right? Every field does.
That's
And
absolutely. Mhm.
unfortunately, psychics, tarot is not immune to that. It's so unfortunate because they give us the readers like me who are of the light. We're literally just trying to guide people. The con artists give us a bad name, right? And so it is super
And you get that
important
in
if you
everything. Yeah,
do.
everything.
Yeah. And so if if you are looking for a reader, it's super important to vet, read the reviews, see how you vibe with that person.
Hmm.
Are they telling you how things are, or are they, because there's a difference between telling you what to do or telling you what you should do or telling you what to think. And I think those are the readers that are more, either they're unhealed readers who really shouldn't be reading because, when you're reading from your own ego, that's all bad, or they're a con artists just trying to get you to pay them more money, right? But
Hmm.
if a solid reader is going to be someone who is going to be more there to help you find your own answers. They're not going to tell you
Right.
what to do. They're going to, as you said, be a guide. And when I read, I'm really careful about my verbiage. I don't ever say, you should do this or you should do this. This is the invitation. This is what you're being called into. Because I also believe in free will. I believe that everyone choose based. So it's another thing as well. I don't do what's called fortune telling. I can tell you where you're headed into the future as of now, but I don't think that's set in stone. Because again, I believe in free will. I think what we do in the present time is what creates our future. So what I love to focus on is how to help you get from here to the future that you desire. And so again, it's not up to me to tell you which path is going to take you there. I could do a decision spread where someone says, should I do A or should I do B? And so what I'll tell them is, okay, so I'm going to read the energy on A and I'm going to read the energy on B. And then that
Okay.
way you can now take this information and make a discerned decision on what feels best for you. And 9 times out of 10, there is a decision that feels much more ideal than the other. But it's not my place to say, oh, this is the best one. This is the one you should do, because they're on their own path and their own journey. Maybe they're going to pick the one that's less ideal because they still have lessons to learn. And
Mm.
it's not my place to judge or put in my own opinions on it, because, and that's another thing that I will state as well. Anything that comes through the cards and not even through the cards themselves are just a tool, in my
Oh, yeah, I
opinion.
was
They're
going to say
not
tools.
magical. Yeah. The cards themselves, they're just paper. You know what I mean? They're not
Hmm.
anything woo woo themselves. It's the intention that you use them for. So to your point, there are probably readers that are low vibrational that are using the cards for not so good things and being in that low vibrational energy. And that's why you want to vet who you talk to, but with the way that I see it is I'm the conduit. I'm showing up for either your higher self or your higher power is speaking through, and I'm using a combination of the cards and my intuition to share what's coming through, but it's not me. I'm not going to take credit for it.
Correct. I understand totally what you're saying. And talk about intuition. They say let's get off the beaten track, but we all have intuition. Would you be able to explain in a small tidbit, like how we can make ourselves or bring it to more to the forefront, our intuition? Do you have anything that you would say to somebody to practice?
Yes, I do. So I
I don't
love
want
these
to,
that
like, I'm
we
not
all,
trying to take it away from you, but I would
no,
like.
you're good. Yeah, no, we all have intuition. Every
Mhm.
single one of us. There's not, see, that's an old paradigm thought of like, oh, if you're a reader, if you're psychic, then you're special. No, we're just more in tune with our own gifts, but
Mhm.
everyone has them. Everyone
Right.
has psychic abilities. And so a good point is, have you ever gotten a gut feeling that said, oh, I shouldn't be here? or this person doesn't feel safe. And you don't have any evidence to back that up in that moment, except for what you're feeling. And then
Hmm.
it turns out to be true. That's your intuition. That's a great example of it. It doesn't always come like some people think it has to come like, you know, like
I
clairvoyance
was going to say in a
or,
movie form. Like,
yeah,
you could
no.
see it so clear. I get you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't always come that way. Sometimes it's a gut feeling. Sometimes it's just a knowing that you can't explain how you know it, but you're getting called in a certain direction. And so what I like to recommend for someone who wants to get more in touch with their intuition
Mhm.
is when you do get those gut feelings, write it, first of all, write it down. So you have a paper trail because you can always second guess yourself later. Like, well, did
Mhm.
I really, I know I was kind of getting this feeling, but did I really get that feeling?
Mhm.
Or, you know what I mean? So if you write it down, you have evidence that you had that feeling, right? And what you could do is what I usually recommend is if you get that gut feeling, just first time, write it down. Let it just be something that you're observing and acknowledging. You don't necessarily have to do anything with it. You're just putting a paper trail on and then write down how it plays out. So maybe
Mhm.
you got called to take action on something, but you chose to just kind of look at the thought and not do anything about it. Write down how it played out where you're like, oh, see, if I had listened to that gut feeling, this wouldn't have happened, or this would have happened, right? And then
Mhm.
the next time you get the gut feeling, this time take action and then write down what happened. And so that helps you build your self trust. You have the paper trail and the evidence, which I think is really important for a lot of us mind. Like a lot of us are up here. We want the logic. We want the things that are tangible.
Right. Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so that's a great way to start is to just when you get those gut feelings, write it down and then see how it plays out.
So
Um,
oh, I'm sorry. So like in other words, would you say to ask the question to yourself, like make believe, I don't say, well, go get a glass of water, but is it like that first, how do you grasp, like you said, intuition, but is it the first thought that comes into the feeling? And it's usually, is it in the center or is it just in your head? Because that I was told one time that that's a little bit of a, which is the
yeah,
feeling like have them ask the question to themselves and then say, this is without cards. How, like, would you
yeah.
say, ask the question that they want to know and then just kind of like it's the first gut feeling that they have? Would you say that or
I
how
would
would you?
say that's more advanced because you have to kind of know what that feels like in your body
Yeah.
first to
Hmm.
know. So like that's why, you know, when you do get those random gut feelings, you're like, I don't know what that means. It
Mm,
that helps you build your trust and then you know what that feels like. So but yeah, typically intuition is like a tap on the shoulder. It
mm.
kind of comes in, it feels a little bit intrusive. It's like this random thought that doesn't feel like yours, it's just dropped in your head, but it's usually like that. It's there and it's gone. But it's enough for you to be like, what was that?
Right.
You
It's not the
know?
one that lingers. The one that's sitting in your
Right.
head, you keep running around, like, keeps going over like the same crazy thought. It's like
Yes. Then
it
that's
comes and
ruminating
goes.
and that's your
Yeah,
ego.
yeah, that makes a big
So
difference.
that's the
Totally.
difference.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I was thinking that, like, I can't stop thinking about that. So that might not be the right. It's the one that comes in quickly and out
Yes.
quickly.
And
Cool.
I have a
Okay.
great example.
Yeah, I was
When I
going to ask
first
you for
started
that. Funny.
yeah,
You're,
when I
you're
first started my
psychic.
spiritual journey, um, so I needed something grounded in science when I first started my spirituality because while I was agnostic and believed in something, I was also borderline atheist and was kind of like, I need that tangible logic. And I
Mm,
can't just like jump into the woo-woo. I had cards, I loved the woo, but for me personally, I needed that logic and that grounding. And so
mhm,
the one of the first podcasts I ever listened to that got me into the beginning of my spirituality was this podcast called Expanded. And they had these workshops for healing. It was basically for manifestation, but from a hypnosis healed center. So
mhm.
a lot of the workshops were healing your inner child or healing your shadow. And so I decided to do that because for me, I thought, well, you know what? This isn't necessarily about my spirituality. It turned into that. But initially it was more like, I feel like I need to heal. That was kind of my
Okay.
foot in the
Hmm.
door. And so I decided to do this workshop. And it was maybe like 2 or 3 days after I signed up for the workshop. I hadn't done it yet. I was kind of already thinking about how I was going to, when I was going to do it. Because I was a single parent. So where am I going to figure out the time to do these workshops? And I was putting groceries away one day and clear as day, without any prompting or anything like that, I just heard, if you want to keep, if you want to do this work, you can't keep alcohol in the house. It was just this
Like click
thought that just
a
got
full.
dropped in
Yeah,
my head.
yeah, I got it. Yeah.
And I was just like, wait, huh? And I didn't have a drinking problem. I was, I had maybe a glass of wine a night ish,
Wait,
like
2 or 3. No,
No, rarely even two or three. I
I'm
mean,
only,
sometimes two,
I'm
but
messing. Yeah.
yeah, it was my
Yeah.
way of unwinding, you know.
Yeah. The doctors tell you
My
to shut the
dad's
glass.
yeah. Well, my dad's an alcoholic, so I've always been really
Mm,
careful about my alcohol consumption. I always drank after my daughter went to bed. It was always just kind of really, it was my way to unwind. And of course, society was like, you survived the day, get that glass of wine, you earned it. So that was
hmm
my mentality. So I had no intention of stopping, and I didn't think there was a problem with it. But then, just out of the blue, you want to do this work, you can't keep alcohol in the house. And it was trial and error, but I
Wow.
listened. And that's when I realized for the first time that, oh my gosh, because I remember the first 2 weeks after I stopped, I was having the worst anxiety attacks ever. And I was seeing a therapist at the time. And I was like, was I addicted? Am
Mm,
I going through withdrawals? And my therapist said, no, you weren't drinking enough to be physically addicted. You're feeling your feelings.
wow.
And that's when I realized that that
Wow.
glass of wine a night
Wow.
was numbing.
I'm so sorry, but I have somebody who entered the room we're going to do a quick little reading with. Can we jump
Oh,
into
yeah,
that? Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm like, wow, okay, cool. We open that up, but I'll let her in. And because I'd like for you to demonstrate a reading and how you do this. So let me let her in. And this is cool. Wow. Okay, hold on. Let's let Judy in. Judy, where are you at? All right, she's on an iPhone. Oh, let's see. Oh, she probably doesn't. Judy, you have to put your camera on, right? Yeah. Um, oh, she's connecting the audio. Okay, let's see. Judy, can you hear us? You have to do your ask to unmute.
Okay,
Okay. Judy,
should I
can
hit
you
it
hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, but we can't see you. Can you do see like a video?
Okay. Let's see.
Or can you just do her voice? You need,
Her voice is fine.
oh, you want to just leave
Yeah.
your voice, Judy? It's up to you.
Okay, here's my voice. Is
Why,
that good?
Hi, Judy.
I
Nice to meet you.
I
nice
just
to meet you
cackled.
too. I can try to do the
Yeah.
video, but I'm like, I don't want to lose you at the same time.
Well, if not, you can come back on if you'd like. It should be up on your phone. You got the iPhone. It should be say video, right?
I don't see anything that says video on here. Let me try the top part.
If not,
Um,
just if you wanted to.
Right next to the little mute button is usually where you see like a little camera with like a little line through it. If you click on that, I don't know if you see that or not. I'm using my iPhone, so that's why.
Yeah, I have mine off. Otherwise, it starts ringing in and we ruin the recording.
Oh yeah, I put mine on do not disturb because that's how I do my recordings.
That's funny. Um, okay, well, she just muted herself again. All right, you're
yeah.
unmuted. Let's just do voice, Judy. It's okay. But you can
Okay,
see,
sounds good.
but you can't see her. You can't
That's
see
totally
Sarah.
fine.
Okay.
So I do email readings where I don't even see or talk to the person. It doesn't, I
Okay.
don't need that specifically. It's
Okay.
all about the intention. And
I got
yeah,
you.
so voice is totally fine.
Okay. I'm going to
Um,
shut up and let you and Judy do this, and I'm going to listen.
I'm going
okay.
to listen too. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Judy. Do you
Hi.
have you ever had a reading before?
I have had a reading before. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So you kind of know
Mhm.
how it works. Do
Yes.
you have a specific question in mind, or we can always just see what your higher self wants you to know, or we can focus on a certain area of your life?
Specific question in mind. My family life, maybe. My what's going on with my family life?
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm really like occupied with my family. So is that ever going to come to like, am I ever going to have like more freedom from it, or, I'm occupied with a lot going on in our lives here.
Okay. Yeah. So like how your family is impacting your life and what you're looking for. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do my higher self spread for this one. And so it's going to focus on, we're going to look at a theme. We're going to look at where you're coming from, where you're at, where you're headed as of now, but that can always shift. I don't believe the future is set in stone because I believe in free will. And then there's going to be tools on how to help you create that freedom that you're looking for and what could be holding you back from that. Does that sound kind of like what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. So as I go through it, you can comment as I go if you'd like. Like don't be afraid to interrupt me.
Okay.
Because once I start talking, I'm just talking. But
You don't have to tell me that twice.
but if you need to comment or you want to comment, feel free to just say whatever and it's totally fine.
Sure.
Or you could just, if you want to comment at the end, or if you don't want to comment at all, like, because I totally get it too, personal, and we're on a podcast. So if you would rather not, I get that as well. But yeah, so there's 7 cards. I'm going to go over theme, past, present, future energies, and then higher self messages. So starting with the theme, which is the Lovers reversed. And the way that I read the Lovers, it's not your typical like romantic card. It actually speaks more to knowing that you're already whole. So what's interesting about this being in your theme, I feel like there's something in your family life that you're waiting on. Like once this happens, then I'll get what I want. And it feels like a waiting game for you. Like someone's dangling a carrot. Like, okay, once I get there, then I'll get where I want to be. And the thing about the Lovers card is there's this idea of you have to look for happiness out there. So this idea of freedom, and I don't know exactly what that means because I haven't really gone into it, but for instance, taking that idea of freedom, you're feeling like once you get that, then your life's gonna be more complete. You're gonna be more whole. You're gonna get more of what you want. And with the Lovers reversed here, well, one, I like it that it's reversed because I feel like this work is already kind of in your awareness, but it's basically saying that anything that you're wanting, that anything that freedom is going to give you that's out there, it's actually something you can already start now. Whatever it is that's holding that you feel like you want, that you have to wait for, you don't have to wait for it. So a lot of society tells us that happiness is outside of us. So it makes sense that we're constantly looking for once I get from A to B, then I'm good. Versus this idea of actually you're already good. Everything you need is already in here.
Live for the moment.
Everything you need to. What was that?
Live for the moment. Tell her to
Mm-hmm.
I just said this, I actually know Judy, and I actually said the same thing to her. I'm like, you don't have to wait, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. I feel like
do it now.
I've been feeling guilty. Like
But you're right
I'm
on
feeling
there.
guilty because I have a lot of sick people in my family, and I feel guilty when I do things like I want to do for myself or me and my husband or me and my friends, and I'm feeling guilty because I feel like I'm taking time away from the people that need me the most.
Sarah, you're right though.
Yeah.
You're right with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been telling Ellie about that. And so I know I can do it now. I just been feeling guilty about it. You know what I mean? Like guilty.
Yeah. So it's this idea, first of all, that you're already whole as you are. Like you don't like, and it could be that guilt. It could be that once I get to B, then the guilt will go away. And the thing is that guilt is, while understandable, it's also something that you're creating for yourself. And that doesn't need to be there. It's okay for you to still live your best life and be supportive to those that you love. You can have the both and without feeling like you have to wait or hold yourself back. And so I do like that the Lovers is reversed because, again, there's that awareness piece. I feel like you've probably been doing work around knowing that you're enough and whole and you don't necessarily need outside things to make you happy. And so I love that there's like a awareness piece of working on finding that wholeness within you that's already there. But yeah, there is this sense of feeling like once I get from A to B, then I can do what I want. And higher self is like, no, that's not how this works. Because you'll always be chasing B. It's about creating it now.
Yeah. Thank you.
So looking at your recent past, I have the 3 of Cups. And I do love this for you in a sense, because this does tell me that you have a really strong support system. Whether it's friends or family or both, you do have people there to lean on. I feel like you struggle with leaning on people for help, though, like knowing that they're really there, or not knowing that they're really there. I think it's more of you don't want to be a burden, so you try not to lean on people. But I do feel like you understand that you have a good support system that's going to lift and hold you in difficult times, like now moving into the future. So I feel like that's just higher self saying that you already know they're there. So don't be afraid to keep leaning on them, because that's why they're there. And they want you to lean on them. Just like when they're going through things, as you've clearly stated, like you're there for people that need you. Now let them be there for you when you need them. And so I do feel like it's something you've already established in the past. And it's more like higher self is just like reminding you, like, hey, your support system, they're still there. They're not going anywhere. So lean on them as needed. And then I love this card for the present. It's the Fool. So speaking of this idea of once I get to be, then my life will start, or then I'll be whole, right? The Fool is all about taking that leap of faith now. So again, the Lovers is like starting off the point of you're already living, everything you want and be is already accessible to you. It's not something that you have to get outside of you. It's already something you can start creating and doing now. And the Fool being in the present now is saying you just have to say yes to it. You just have to jump. And the Fool,
right?
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, we've been talking about that, right, Ellie?
Yes, I speak
Yeah.
with Judy. Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of this. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful thing about the Fool is it is the start of a whole new journey. So if you say yes to it, if you take that leap, it's going to take you on a completely different path. And it's going to basically end where you're at and start a new thing. And the Fool is all about new beginnings. Yes, it's like go for it. But there is that fear of what if I jump and something bad happens? What if I jump and the universe doesn't catch me? And the thing is, well, especially with the Fool present, the universe is like, we've got your back. Like the universe is going to catch you. You're totally fine. But understand that you have to say yes, and you have to take that leap of faith in order to start that journey. And I think that a big part of that is going to start with knowing that you don't need anything outside of you. It's already there within you.
I agree. Yeah.
Right.
Moving into the near future, I have the Knight of Swords next to the Nine of Swords reversed. So I love this. It's really speaking to that Fool energy. Once you say yes, you're going to be. So the Knight of Swords is the fastest moving knight in the deck. And it's similar to the Fool. The Fool is a leap of faith. The Fool is say yes and go for it and just and trust. Like surrender and trust is the Fool. The Knight of Swords is, okay, now there's work to be done. Now you have to do the work, but there's some really fast forward moving energy to jump and use and move into to take you to that next level. But you have to do the work and you have to really put your all into it. So the Fool is more of a leap of faith, trust, and the Knight moving into the near future is like, okay, now that you've said yes, now that you're trusting and surrendering, now it's time to do the work. And I feel like this is probably more like what if there's some kind of endeavor or project or thing that you're hoping to get once you get to be, so to speak, there's some kind of a passion that you want to take and ride and go somewhere with that you've thought about for a while, but you kept putting it on the back burner. And higher self is like, once you say yes to living in the now, to cultivating the life you want now, that's when it's going to be time for you to say yes to this passion project or idea or thing that you want to do. You just have to put in the work and go for it. Right. And then the Nine of Swords reversed. So there is a lot of fear around going after this passion project. Like you have a lot of anxieties and worries about it. And I feel like you're pretty good at realizing that those fears are probably not going to come true, but they still kind of mess with your psyche. They still get in your head. So with the Nine of Swords, I always like to recommend like whatever's holding you back from going for the Knight, because the biggest reason why we don't take advantage of that Knight energy and go after the thing is because we're afraid of failure, usually. And so it's again kind of like the Fool throwing caution to the wind and just going for it. With the Nine of Swords present, which is about fears and anxieties, I would say write down what you're afraid of. Get detailed, all the things that could go wrong that you're really, really afraid of. And a couple things are going to happen when you do that. One, you're getting it out of your head and putting it on paper, which is going to make it not as big as it seems.
It's so big into journal. Right on paper. Right. No matter what they do in life, I tell everybody to write it out. Write it down. You see things so much clearer when you can write it down. Yeah.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
great idea.
What happens next is once you write down all your fears and you see them and you're like really like getting them, once they're out of your head and on paper, now you could really rationalize it. Mm-hmm. Now you can actually figure out, okay, is this a real fear? Because I think a lot of the times we write down fears and then we're like, that's probably never going to happen. we can see that maybe we blew it up in our head. Or
Mm.
you might write down a fear and be like, but that could still happen. Okay. Now write down what you'll do about it if it happens to happen. So you have a game plan. And then set it
Right.
aside. You're making space to have more positive thoughts and helpful moving forward thoughts versus getting stuck in that rumination of what if. Well, now, if what if happens, you already have a game plan. So you don't need to worry about what if anymore.
Thank you.
And
Very good.
so whatever is holding you back. So like I said, there's this idea of creating things now, taking that leap of faith. Like those are things you're really being called into. Use your support system to help you through that. But once you say yes, and once you start doing that whatever that passion project is that you want to go for, write down whatever is holding you back, because there's the Knight of Swords is somewhat of a fate card. It's saying that there's something here for you if you put your all into it and if you go for it. So the next two cards are higher self message. These are like the tools, again, to help you moving into that near future. And I feel like I said, there's something that you've been wanting to do, that you've been playing with and haven't been afraid to go for and go after.
I'm gonna tell you, but I won't.
You can tell me. Go ahead.
No, you don't.
Oh my God.
Everything, just taking your
Yeah.
trips, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you do have a big support system. You don't realize it, but you do.
I do. I just kind of
Yeah.
feel like my support system is spread out now. It used to be like really close, remember, Ellie? And now I
Yes,
got
but
one there.
yes,
Now
but they're still
now
there.
it's the phone. Yeah.
And Sarah, you're correct, because the thing, Judy will not ask. She'll sit there and I'll be like, you have to ask. And that's that leap, that card. That was you, Judy. But when you watch this recording, you'll see it, because she can't see it because she couldn't get her phone, whatever she had to do. But you'll see that.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep telling her. Just do it. Just ask. Put it out there, right? Just say it. This is what you need. This is what you want. So when you saying this, it's like, it was like mirrored, right? From what I've been
exactly.
saying.
Like something
So
we know.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
Something we know. I like that one jumping off the cliff, because I think I got to jump off the cliff.
Well, that's you. That was definitely you. But you got to jump. You got to ask.
I got to take that jump, right?
Oh my gosh. Is there any other cards there that she's waiting to hear on, or did you have any other questions,
Yes,
Judy? Maybe.
There's two more cards here.
Oh, great. Sorry.
Which are going to just help again with that leap of faith and going after what you really want.
Great.
So the first one is the Five of Pentacles. So this one does speak to a lack mentality and a struggle with feeling like you don't have what you need to do what you want. Like the resources aren't there. That's the belief and the narrative and the lens. It's not true, but that's what you're seeing around the situation, is this fear of like, I don't have what I need, so I'm just not going to go for it. And if you look at this, can you see my video or no?
Yeah, yes, I can.
Okay.
Oh, you could see her?
I could see her, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right, cool.
I can see both of you, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. So if you see this card, if you look, she looks like she's given up already. She obviously doesn't look like she's doing very good.
Right, that's me. That's definitely me. That's me.
Everything she needs, though, is actually right here. But she's not looking for it. She already believes it's not there, so she's not looking for it.
There you go, Judy.
Oh, okay. So it is there.
It is there. Yes. That's the whole point of this card, is to say that you feel like you're in lack, but everything you need is literally within arm's reach. You just have to ask and look and believe it's there. And that's the difference between abundance mentality and lack mentality. Abundance thinking is trusting that I don't know how or where it's going to come from, but I know something's going to support me in this, and really believing that. Coming back to that leap of faith, right? Okay, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know that I trust that it's going to, and now I'm just going to keep moving forward and the doors will open. When you're in lack mentality, it's the opposite. It's feeling like it's not there. I don't have it. So you just don't look, because you've already made that decision that it's not there, even though it is. So that's the first thing is higher self is saying, work on your mentality, work on the fact that, and that trust, that surrender. The doors are there. The resources are there. If you really feel like it's not there, that's when you really need to look harder. Because
okay, so I got to look
right there
hard.
for you.
Just call me, Judy.
Yeah, I'll call you for sure. Ellie.
And then
I'll tell you who they are.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. It's too fun.
And then the final card is the Eight of Pentacles reversed, which I really love this because
it's blonde hair. No.
because going for instance, taking a leap of faith, going after passion projects that are scary, that you want, but you're afraid that you can have it, all this stuff. yes, taking that leap and saying yes is the starting point, but you're still learning as you go. And so I love the Eight of Pentacles because it does speak of patience, like being really patient with yourself, understanding that each stage you're learning something new for your toolbox to help you with the next stage that's coming up. And so understand that unpacking this idea of you're already whole, you don't need something outside of you. Everything you need is within you. Say yes, you can go after the thing. It's a whole mindset shift that's going to take time. And like it's the whole Rome wasn't built in a day kind of thing. So this is just really encouraging you to not be impatient. So if you say yes and you start working on your mentality and start believing in the things, if you don't necessarily see the fruition immediately, or you see like baby steps, but it's not like the big steps, it could feel a little bit like, well, why am I doing this? It's not working. But it is. You're basically, because you're going to be starting a whole new chapter in your life where you're learning a bunch of new things, you have to look at it as you're a student. You're now a student in this new life path where you're learning and picking up tools as you go. And that comes back to the trust of you have everything you need. You're just learning as you go. And so the Eight of Pentacles is really like an apprentice card. It's understanding that you're learning as you go. So be gentle, trust the process. And again, I feel like that specifically is speaking to mindset shifts, is understanding that just because you now, even if you understand this idea of, oh, I don't need anything outside of me to be happy. Oh, I know I can actually go for this thing. It's okay. I'm allowed to. It doesn't mean you're not going to have doubts that are going to creep up, that are going to try and hold you back. Wow. That's where your discernment and your awareness comes in, where you're like, oh, wait, hold on. That's a limiting belief. I'm going to table that and hold on to that newer belief that I'm trying to learn. So it's understanding that it's a whole process of growth that you're being invited into. So be gentle with yourself and trust that the baby steps are actually taking you somewhere, and that it's not, because it might feel a little bit like, well, I should know this already. Why am I still operating from old beliefs? Because you've had those beliefs for probably most of your life. And it takes a while to let those go and learn new ones.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Great. That was
I agree, Eleanor.
Yeah, that was a great reading.
I like the one jumping off the cliff, and I like the one me falling on the floor. I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah, but you have to do that leap to get
I like
to move forward.
I got to take that leap, and I got to take the baby steps and find the resources. It's a lot of shit. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but you already have it all there. That's why this reading.
I have it. Yeah,
you have it. We just discussed this yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, but thank you.
But you gave a great read.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Judy, thank you so much for calling in.
Guys.
Yeah, thank you, Judy.
Thank you for letting me read for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. It was great. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. I got to figure out how to hang this up. Okay.
All right. We need to, oh my goodness, hope we can get, okay. I was gonna say we need to get rid of her. All right, but that was great. I appreciate that. Oh my God, what a great reading. Great.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I love reading.
yeah, we're definitely gonna bring you back. And like I said, we'll try to do it a little bit. This is just like the pilot series. No, we'll bring you back.
I would love that.
Yeah. Like at your California for Orlando to bring you in the studio. So you can do readings for one in a row. But this was great. And now I think I asked you before, same thing. To get a hold of you, your website, you'll once you give me that too, we'll also, once we put the podcast up, we're going to put your information under that if they want to contact you, but just verbally, if you want to just say how to get a hold of you would be great.
Yeah. My website is spiritjourneycollective.com. And I offer email readings. I offer one-on-one sessions over Zoom. So kind of like what, if you were listening, it would be similar to this, the structure that you just got to witness. So I offer one-on-one sessions. I offer email readings, which is a little bit more convenient in the sense that you don't have to schedule with me. You could just send in a question, but you're going to get a personalized voice recording with a picture of all the cards. So an email reading doesn't take away from the value by any means. And you get about 10 to 15 minutes of a recorded reading that way.
That's amazing. How do you read it? How do you read an email? Or don't get into that right now. We're running out of time.
Yeah, it's just all about intention. It's really what I feel like it is. They're showing up with the intention for guidance, and I'm showing up with the intention of being that that channel. And
Wow.
yeah, it's
God, the way I
I
read
didn't
my
really know how it
emails,
worked
forget it.
before, but
Wait, the way
yeah.
I got 10 million emails a day. If I had to be psychic and all those, forget it. Sometimes I feel it. It's like delete, delete. No. Um,
And then
wow.
I also just recently launched a new project called the Alignment Project. And so this is basically if you have a specific block or struggle that you want to figure out how to overcome or work past, the Alignment Project is a really great option. It's a full reading, kind of like what you just witnessed over the podcast. It's a full reading to like really dive into what is it about that block that's holding you back. And then we're going to create an actual tangible step-by-step guide on how to get to the future you desire with
Yeah, that's great.
tangible
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and journal prompts and all the things. So that is another thing that I offer as well. And you can find all of that on my website. And then I also have a podcast, like we mentioned a little bit earlier. It's
Yeah.
also called Spirit Journey Collective. And I love to talk about people and their backstories and how they found their purpose and alignment. And that's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah. Yay. Oh my God, I love it. So I can come on your podcast and you can
Yeah, I would
and you
love
can
that.
and you can read me. No, it's wow, that is so it's so wild. Wow. Yeah, it's fantastic. But we are out of time. But I would love, like I said, maybe down the line we could bring you on back on and get some more
Yeah, if you want to do like a
a
I don't know if you want
weekly.
to do like a weekly or monthly, like, hey, Sarah's on, call me for a
Yeah,
reading. I would love that. That'd be
I think we
amazing.
could do that. That would be so much fun. Oh my
It
God, we
would.
love this stuff. Especially we're going into Halloween. Like, and did you ever notice that before we part around Halloween, people seem to come out of the woodwork for readings?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? There's some kind of like connection around the Halloween. I mean, I know it's because it's Halloween, but still, I mean, readings you get away with that.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I think for starters, I mean, they say that All Hallows Eve or Samhain is like the veil thins on the spirit realm. So there's that whole
Hmm.
belief. But I think a lot of it is more that people just put psychic and tarot and woo woo all together around Halloween. So like when I do events, I'm hired for events, Halloween is my busiest time of year. I
Yeah.
have so many Halloween parties and corporate events that are all centered around Halloween. Like I get
Yeah.
so many from
It's funny how that works.
September through
Yeah.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know. That's what I did. Last year I did mine. I used to have Halloween parties. All my Halloween parties at psychics. I mean, you don't have a Halloween party without a psychic, but there you go. The correlation, right? It's like, okay,
Hmm.
right? You get your reads all year round, but for some reason it's that woo woo.
But I mean, I've had people hire me for Christmas and for
Oh,
Valentine's
Santa. Oh,
Day.
what am I
And
getting for Christmas?
so, yeah, I mean, it's just people will hire a psychic or a tarot reader for anything,
Wow.
but I think it's great because I feel like the stigma around tarot, it's still there, it's still alive and well, but I think more and more people are realizing it's not as scary as I thought it was because it's not. Like even the scary cards, I
Well,
like to call them
okay.
medicine.
In defense to that, now, don't you think some of them portrayed themselves that way? Because I know some psychics that you actually like look at them, and I mean, sometimes you can almost feel it, and you can almost see like a little spooky. You know, I mean, you would be like the good witch. I'm not the one you would, but do you know what I mean? It's like certain people, their appearances and the way they act and the way they dress, you can almost say there's a certain feeling that you can get from them. Like, yeah, well, they're psychic. You're
Mhm.
like, oh, am
Yeah,
I
I think
right?
that it
I
just
think
comes
there's a
back
certain vibe.
to
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it just comes back to that. You want to vet who you talk to. If you're
Mm,
getting a eerie vibe from somebody, either they're not the reader for you, or it could be that they're not really of the light, and so they're
yes.
reading more from their ego. And I wouldn't necessarily that means they're evil or anything like that. They're probably just unhealed and reading from their ego and their own opinions, which is dangerous because then you
Mm,
tell people that's when you get people who readers that say that this is for sure going to happen, or that's dangerous. If you ever have a
no,
reader
never
that
say
says
that. Yeah.
no, if they're like, oh, this is going to happen or else, like, no, that's
Mm,
not a true reader, or someone that tells you what to do. And if you're kind of like, well, I don't know if I should, and they're like, no, 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 you need to do this, that's another big red flag. So you
I was
want to
going to
vet
ask
your
you what red flags
readers.
were.
Yeah, so those are some big ones. If
Okay.
someone says that it's for sure, if someone's trying to, so I know there are readers that do spell work, and so they might offer something, but for those that tell you that you're cursed and you need to pay them to undo the curse, that
Oh,
is another scam.
yes. I was going to, I
Yeah.
know. Oh my gosh, we're running over, but yes, I wanted to bring that up to you and your opinion on that. I've had people tell me, oh, I had a read-in and I got this curse on me and it's going to cost me $800 or $900 to have it removed. And I'd be like, well, I could remove it. No, as a joke. I'm like, why are you going to pay somebody $800 to $900 or Google how you can remove it?
Yeah.
I mean, there is such thing as spells. 100%. We know that. But I don't think
So
you need to hire somebody. Do you? I mean, maybe.
no, and to be honest, I have a really different take on spells and curses and all that stuff. So personally, I really feel like it's your belief system. So someone like that, unfortunately, is feeding off of fear. It's feeding off of people's fears. And so that's why that's when people will spend money because they're afraid and they
Mm,
don't, they think this curse is on them. I personally believe that, well, I think that spells work because you put belief into it. I think spells and
okay.
prayers are
It's like
very, very similar.
manifestation. You're
So or
manifesting it.
manifestation, yes,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
So what spells is doing is giving you something tangible to work with to help you with your belief system. I think
Hmm.
that's the biggest difference. So if spell work works for you, that's you basically manifesting, but doing tools that works for you. Kind of like
Hmm.
I can't pick up a pendulum and read for someone, but I can pick up my cards. My cards speak to me that
Oh,
way. So
I
if
got into pendulums recently. Pendulum.
yeah. And so it's you work with what works for you. So if
Yeah.
spell work helps you manifest, that's great.
Hmm.
But curses, I really truly believe that curses is just a low vibrational mindset. I think that the moment you decide that the curse can't touch you anymore and that you're above that, it can't touch you anymore. I think vibrationally, you go from here to here and then you
Hmm.
become invisible to it. Because when the more you feed into a belief, coming back to what we were just talking about, manifesting, you're manifesting it.
Hmm.
You're making it real because you're fueling that fear and that belief. But if you decide, hey, I don't want to live in fear anymore, and I believe there's a higher power of some kind that loves and protects me, that wants to release me from this, I think that we have the power to release ourselves. And I
Yep.
think it's
Hmm.
literally
Good.
the belief. So anyone that says you're cursed, no, please just don't believe that. And
Hmm.
if you feel like you have something holding you back, that's something that you can do on your own, or you could go to someone to, help you, not like the person like Reiki or
I was going
healing
to
to
say
help
Reiki.
you.
Hmm.
Yeah, Reiki or an energy healer who's going to help you work through it, but you're still doing the work. All healers and light workers, if they're really ethically sound, they're going to be your guide. They're not going to be the person doing the work for you.
Hmm. Understandable. Well,
Yeah.
well, Sarah, it was great meeting you, and we will meet again. And thank you for being on the Storytime with Ellie podcast, where everyone has a story. And I loved yours. This is great. And Sarah, don't go anywhere. We're just gonna click off and don't go anywhere. Thanks, Sarah. And that is
Thank you.
Sarah Tye. Thank you. Thank you.
This is how legends are made.